although it doesn't look like much. Have a look through this window, you'll see why this looks pretty impressive. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and we're sticking in Great Yarmouth today for a historic tour. We're going to check out the old town wall in Great Yarmouth and some history nuggets as well for you. Going to go to some very interesting places that you may or may not know about. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, share the video, give it a thumbs up, and as always, if you'd like to support me on Patreon, the link is in the description. Now, before we start, I just thought I'd give this a special mention. As you can see, just there is the bridge that goes over the River Yare, just around Fuller's Hill in Great Yarmouth. And I thought I'd give it a mention because recently a plaque has come up here, just to give a little bit of a remembrance from those people that sadly lost their lives in the Suspension Bridge disaster back in 1845. Around 80 people lost their lives, and most of them were actually children, as they was watching a circus clown perform here in the water. And as he went under the bridge, they all rushed to the other side, and unfortunately the bridge collapsed and a lot of people lost their lives. So that was really sad, but I thought I'd give that a bit of an honorary mention. So we're going to start here where the wall begins pretty much, and there are a few of these around, and this one is in pretty good nick, as you can see. The old flint wall, which you'll see a bit of a recurrence around the brick wall. We're starting here in the northwest tower, and I believe, I'm not quite sure, but you used to be able to go in there. I love this old door as well, just look at that. So at the moment we would be on the inside of the wall, as I'm just stepping on the outside. Here would have been a moat that would have literally gone, literally not all the way, but just literally halfway round the wall there towards the beach. So let's start the tour. So as we come up here, you can just see the wall just reforming from there, and as you can see back. And obviously, if you want to know where you are on the wall, there's all these little plaques around, so you can just double check that you are literally still on the tour of the old wall. And there's a lot of restoration work going on at the moment to parts of the tower and parts of the wall, which we'll be seeing at the moment, to try and restore it to somewhat of its splendour back in the day. So as you can see, a lot of the wall is still intact, and Great Yarmouth has one of the best preserved and most complete medieval town walls in England, dating back from the 28th of September 1261, when King Henry III granted Great Yarmouth the right to enclose the town wall and a ditch to protect it from pirates and to ensure taxes that could be collected. So there are 11 towers that still survive today. Back in the 13th century, town walls were very important, not only as protection against enemy raids, but because they showed that a town had wealth and power. Work started on this wall in 1276, and a great amount of labour was required. Each resident had to work on the wall for a number of days each year, although wealthy people could pay others to do the work for them. Most inhabitants knew that they would never live to see it finished. It took 111 years to complete this wall. And bearing in mind, most of these walls were built with bits of local flint and pebbles that were found lying on the beaches. Now, some parts of the wall are in better condition than others. You can see all the stone and the flint on here, which look pretty good. No restoration work has happened on this part of the wall. Just as a point of reference, there's Sainsbury's. And it is a fascinating walking tour if you come along and just follow the wall around Great Yarmouth. Obviously, there are some parts that you can't actually go. I mean, look at this. These are what obviously they used to use and put guns pointing out and overlooking what would have been basically the beach and the dunes. Now this is where the wall breaks just from here. So we just crossed over the road to this area here. As you can see, this part used to be Pudding Gate, which got knocked down in 1837, and as you can see, the wall continues all the way along there, and you can actually see another one of those towers. And again, there is residential buildings in the way, so we'll do our best through the tour. And it is fascinating, there's a school behind there. It's so odd to see, isn't it, the new and the old here in Great Yarmouth, when you think about the man hours and the work that went into this wall and how long it's actually been here. A lot of people kind of don't see these, they kind of get hidden by buildings, but it's definitely worth having a look. Obviously I'd love to go into some of these towers, obviously all closed at the moment. So as you can see, the tower's there, the wall continues just along here as it goes into what would have been the centre of the medieval town and the market gate. It is a shame you can't do the whole walk of the wall because obviously it's all segregated up and, well, basically goes through people's back gardens, which we'll see a little bit later. So there's the wall just continuing from over there, and on this site was the actual market gate. Whereas if you've been here before, you'll know the Market Gate Shopping Centre. And again, a plaque there just so you can see the point of reference. And all the walls and the gates were actually all demolished at all different times as well. They weren't all demolished on the same year. Obviously this is what used to be a conservative club. It's now called the Dupe. But I just wanted to quickly show you in here. We would be on the outside of the wall right now. The town centre would be on the inside. And obviously you can't walk down here, but it just goes to show how amazing some of it is still intact, with that little archway there and that other tower. Absolutely amazing. So we'll just quickly go back up here and we'll start walking on the inside of the wall and how different it looked obviously from the outside. We'll see all these were places where people would put the guns. So this area here is what I think probably what the locals would call it some names, which is a bit of a shame, but a lot of people pee in here, even though there's public toilets just up here. So the smell isn't the best. But again, this part of the wall, as you can see, looks pretty intact. And these are a nice feature, aren't they? And there's where we were just standing, just by that gate. Another one of these towers. Has a door there that seems to be blocked off. Again, it is really weird the way you see the wall with the new buildings and the old. Adds some real contrast. So as we continue down, obviously that's where I was a minute ago, the wall ended, and then just as a point of reference between Taco Bell and Pound Stretcher, and as you walk down this way, you can still see little areas of where the wall continues. So if you continue walking down here, St George's Park is just here on the left. And again, talking about the restoration work that is going on at the moment with the wall, just here you can see another one of those towers, and obviously that the wall continues there. And just a special mention, this is around the back of St George's Theatre. It's almost like our Leaning Tower of Pisa, but in Great Yarmouth. As you can see, it does actually lean forward a little bit. So St George's Theatre's had a lot of work done to it. They've added this cafe bar a few years ago, and has been restored back into its former glory. And the great thing is, if you do get lost, there are these signposts everywhere that tell you where you're going. There's the town wall route. So we're coming up to a very interesting part of the wall here in Great Yarmouth, just because of the significance of what is behind this wall, which we'll come to in just a little bit. This is the Garden Gate entrance. Again, you can see how they were all demolished all at different times. This is 1776. You'll also notice there a cross that is facing the wrong way up. Again, you can't really read that, but it was just basically talking about King Henry and the Charter and the wall, and talking about, I think it was an old law or a new law that was passed, and it was to let the residents know about it. As you can see, the original woodwork on here. But through this door here is a graveyard. Now, bearing in mind that the wall, that was the inside of Great Yarmouth, and here obviously was the outside, and all this would have just been marshland. Now, these people that were buried in here were people that were either had done something wrong or they were poor, and I think this is Jewish as well, some of these gravestones here. And the story goes is that they were not allowed to be buried inside the town walls, so obviously they were buried outside of the town walls. You can see there's some of these gravestones dating back to 1846, these three. Fascinating. So when you come up to this bit, this is the best part of the wall because a lot of it is still intact. This is the old pottery building. You can still actually go in there. I mean, look at the door. Look at that. And of course the Great Yarmouth coat of arms up the top. Again, you can see the restoration work that has gone on there in the past, and it just goes to show how tall these were, overlooking what would have been marshland and the beach. And in fact, I think back in the 1800s, the beach and the marshland actually did come up towards the wall. And it's hard to believe that somebody actually lives in there as well. A lot of restoration work has been done on it, and I think it was up for sale a good few years ago. Amazing amount of history. And I wonder if there's any ghosts in there as well. So once again, we're on the inside of the wall. So this would have been in the town. And as you can see, what they would have seen looking out through here. And you would have been looking out to pretty much beach. And I'm sure this must have had different levels as well, where you'd be walking along, standing along the top there. We're just going to go inside the wall again here. I just wanted to show you down here because there's a nice entrance to one of the towers here. Again, it's all blocked up. You can't go in there. But it's an interesting view to see it from both sides, really. From outside the wall and inside the wall as well. Still in pretty good condition in some parts. You can see how these houses were built literally onto the back of the wall. And in some of these houses, their back wall is the wall. Obviously, you can't go up there. Some of the old steel there. So Great Yarmouth town centre's in that direction. This is the, I believe, the southeastern part of the tower. The far southeastern part of the tower. And again, you can just see how the wall just goes all the way down here and actually is part of some of these houses. A couple of houses behind, I think, is part of the house. And it's amazing to think that this wall has survived how many world wars and invasions, and a lot of it is still here. You can see some of the, even the tiles on top of that tower, and you can see these houses here how literally it hugs the wall. And here is the very end of the wall, which was demolished back in 1812, the site of the South Castle, and obviously the wall would have continued just towards the river there, and then everything inside would have been Great Yarmouth, and outside, well, pretty much no man's land. So South Quay along here, just wanted a special mention for this because this is very interesting. In the middle of the residential apartments here, you can see this plaque that has been here clearly for a very long time, honouring Sir James Paget Bart. He was a surgeon to Queen Victoria, who was born in this house actually, and he was respected for his scientific skills around the country. He died in London, but he was actually born here. So there you go. So if you are ever walking along South Quay, there's quite a lot to see actually. A lot of them are signposted, like this one here, the old merchant's house. Let's have a quickly look down here. And again, some of this architecture that's been placed here probably gets missed by a lot of people who visit Great Yarmouth, including, and I love this, when I first went past here, I actually thought, well, someone's just stick a sofa. But it's actually made out of concrete. Look at that. There's no real plaque here to say who designed it, and or even why it was put here. I'm sure people can come to their own imaginations. And so the merchant's house is there, and just here as well is one of the famous row houses, which again are run by English Heritage, and they do tours, and a lot of history inside here. So a lot of you probably don't even know about the history of Great Yarmouth, and it is pretty special. You can always come to the Nelson Museum. Lest we forget, a very famous person was born in Great Yarmouth, Horatio Nelson, and obviously you can see his big plinth that stands down near South Deans. So just down here you'll see a sign for Greyfriars Cloisters, and the remains of the 13th century building and church still here. In fact, it got bombed in the war, and this is what is left. They're having some restoration work done on it at the moment, but a bit of a hidden gem here in Great Yarmouth. I mean, it's fascinating. You can even see the old fireplace there and the chimney, and what would have been, I guess, upstairs. The old wooden frames of windows as well still standing. So if you ever wanted to come and check it out, just come along South Quay, or actually you can actually come through the town, which is just here, and you can just go past the doctors just there, the lighthouse, and you can also get to it here. So we left the cloisters over in that direction, just walked up here to show you one of my favourite historical buildings here in Great Yarmouth, and the front of this building has not changed at all. If I show you some old photos of the Tollhouse, it's got amazing history. And Great Yarmouth, you know, does have a very dark history. This was basically used as a police station and as a court later on, and the notorious dungeon known as the Hold. The Tollhouse certainly had that turbulent history. Over the years, it's been home to pirates, robbers, and murderers, as well as countless common crooks. Just to the right of the building here, where the library is, used to be the gallows. I think there also used to be some outside the town hall as well. So just behind the Victoria Arcade is this little area, which doesn't look really that special, except for when you look at this wall a little bit closer. A little bit of history about this, and I'm not too sure if this is entirely correct, but this used to be a little bit of a smuggling walkway where smugglers used to store some of their stuff. off the ships, and there used to be tunnels going from here down to the quay. And if we look through this window, you'll see what I mean. Obviously there is a door up there, but you're not allowed to go in it. That looks scary. So let me know in the comments section below if that is correct, if you know any more history about this little bit here. So one of the oldest hotels here in Great Yarmouth is along the quayside. It's the Star Hotel, steeped in history. It was in trouble a few years back, but someone bought it and brought it back to life and given it a bit of a makeover. It's really nice inside now. So just walking through one of the many rows here in Great Yarmouth, we come up to the famous marketplace. And in fact, the marketplace has been here in some form since the 1200s. You can see the market stalls and the chip stalls that have been there forever. In fact, just there, if you want to go and get some mushy peas, is a great place. They do some great fresh fish down here as well. There's a butcher's here on the corner that's been here for ages. And a special mention, nice bacon sandwiches from Barry's Tea Stall as well. And as we continue through the marketplace, again, a lot of history here, a lot of buildings. And this building, as we're coming up to now, is very special and looks like something out of a movie set. This is the Old Fishermans Hospital. Again, steeped in history, and it's definitely worth a look. Just bear in mind that these are now residential areas as well. And just before we leave the town, we need to come up to this tiny little house here, which was the birthplace of the author of Black Beauty, the very famous book. I'm sure you've read it. Anna Sewell used to live here. And just before we end the video, another special mention to this building here. It is very impressive. A lot of people miss it when they come to Great Yarmouth. This used to be the old Royal Naval Hospital. It is absolutely huge and so beautiful. In fact, it wouldn't look out of place in London. Obviously, it's now residential areas, so you can't go in there. But definitely, if you're walking past, a look through the railings. And a massive thank you to all my patrons. If you can see your name in lights, a huge thanks to you. Also, please make sure you give the video a thumbs up to tell others you're liking the video. Please make sure you do subscribe. And if you'd like to become my Patreon, the links are in the description. And also, certain tiers come with certain great gifts as well. I'll see you next time.